I'm Deborah Borchart, and this is your midday market update. Well, the market seems to be following the weather here in New York. We started out this morning with rain, and now there's sunshine outside. Same as the market. We started on the downside, and slowly, in just really like the last hour or so, we've started to crawl back, trim those losses. We may go into the green territory before it's too late. I'm joined by Keith Bliss from Cuttone. So, Keith, it just seems like every time we get some selling, it does not last for long, and our corrections are all of maybe 2 hours.
Yeah, it's something you've been talking about for a couple of weeks now. The intraday volatility can be staggering to most investors and traders, but you just kind of ride it out and stick with your convictions of your long-term investment thesis. On a shorter-term basis, we caught the market oversold, the S&P oversold when it really collapsed about a week and a half ago, and that's part of this bounce that's going on. The bullish trend from a technical standpoint is still very much intact. We've not violated any of the real key levels on a support side of things in the technical, so it's not surprising to see these initial knee-jerk reactions to policymakers making statements. We had Cuttone saying this morning that, this was the remarkable thing, by the way, we had Cuttone saying this morning that they were not going to do more stimulus, they were just going to keep the program intact, and everybody hated that. So I don't know what it takes now, Deborah. Does everybody think that central planners and policymakers around the globe, central bankers, need to just keep feeding the system ad infinitum? If they do, then we're all in trouble at some point.
Well, that is true to a certain extent, but then you also have the situation where, at this point, the market just wants to go higher, and you can't fight that tape. And we've gotten so focused on all these other issues like Greece and such, and now all of a sudden we're focusing on Japan. And it just feels like we've gone from one thing to the next, and now all eyes are on Japan.
Well, that's right, but at some point, even though the market does have that feel and the bullish trend is intact, at some point the market has to start normalizing on base level fundamentals of what's actually happening. Where's the growth around the globe? What does the Japanese market look like? What is China doing? What does the U.S. growth picture look like? Right now, this market moves based upon noises and contemplations, if you will, out of the central policy makers right now. We've seen that. Anybody who believes that this market trades, at least on a short-term basis on fundamentals, will get run over one way or the other. On a longer-term basis, if people just stick to their guns, they believe in their investment thesis that there is growth accelerating here in the U.S., although time will tell on that, then they should be okay on the long side. I'll tell you what you're also pointing out, though, is something that I'd be very careful about, is shorting this market at any point in time, because you can get a quick pop on the open on bad news, but you'll quickly get run over like we're seeing today. The S&P is now down only 2.5 points.
Yeah, and the Dow just went into positive territory as we started speaking. So there you have it. As Keith said, you just don't want to be short these days, because if you do, you've got to keep your eye on it closely, because you're probably not going to be able to stay there long. That's Keith Bliss from Cuttone, and I'm Deborah Borchart from the street.